Hi everybody and welcome back to episode 26 of my full book colour along in RJ Hampson's gorgeous book Awake. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. We have been working our way through the cute little book Awake by RJ Hampson. It is cute, easy, simple images, and I am doing them all with my alcohol markers. I have downloaded the PDF version of the book, which I have printed onto this Transitype Perfect colouring paper. It's a cardstock that's designed for alcohol marker use, so it works perfectly with my Ohuhu markers, which is what I am using. And yeah, let's dive in. So I'm going to start with his sack here, this cheeky bunny. It's called A Busy Night. He's obviously had a busy night. And I'm going to be using Y11 and E210 for my his little sack of goodies here. So as always, I like to start with my darkest marker first, lay in my shadows, and then come in with my lighter marker next. So feel free to change it up to do what you want to do. You don't have to use the same colours that I'm using. You might want to mix it up a bit, add some different colours in. Do whatever works for you. It's just about having a bit of fun and yeah, doing some nice quick and easy colouring, and with the aim of getting a full book coloured by the end of this year, which I'm quite excited about. I have never coloured this much or this many pages in one book before. This is definitely the furthest I have got through any book, and I am quite excited to have this many pages done. So yeah, if you're joining along and you are keeping up with me, then awesome. By July, mid-July, I think I worked it out, we should have a full book coloured, which I think is pretty exciting. So yeah, looking forward to that. I am going over with 2 coats. This is quite a big area, and I've only got the 2 markers. You could, of course, add another marker in if you wanted to, but I figured the 2 markers would be fine. And I'm just kind of going back over those areas a little bit more. I might even come back in with a 3rd coat of the darkest marker once I finish this little bit here. So I'm just going to add, I don't know, that might be part of the sack too. Let's make it all part of the sack. Kind of makes more sense. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more of this darker marker. I really just kind of want to emphasize these shadows and kind of, yeah, make them stand out a bit. Okay, that's his sack done. Let's move on to his mask. His little robber's mask. So I've got NG06 and CG070 for this. And again, just the 2 markers I'm using for this. They're quite dark greys. I kind of want it to look like a blackish coloured mask, so I've gone for some dark greys. I never use black. I say never say never. Yeah, I don't think I've ever used black. To create black, I prefer to use greys and add kind of gradients of colour, because I don't know, it just makes it look more, I don't know if realistic's the right word, but it gives that kind of shadow and depth and stops it from looking completely flat. If you were just to colour it all in black, it wouldn't look right. It would just look, like I say, it wouldn't look 3-dimensional. It would just look really flat. So I always like to add darker greys to make something look black. And you can add even darker greys in the ones I'm using if you want, but as I say, this works for me. I like to be able to see kind of little details on it. So yeah, do what works for you, but this is a method that I like. And I have said it just about every video that I've made in this series. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I am a self-taught colorist. I learned a lot of what I do from watching other people and watching YouTube videos and seeing how other people do stuff. And so, yeah, I'm not an expert. I just kind of do what feels right to me. and try and have fun with it as much as possible. So please don't look at me and think I'm like, you know, I've got all the answers, because I don't. Right, let us do, I think I'll do his hat next. I'm gonna do his hat next. I might do no, I'm gonna do a shirt next. I'm gonna start with this shirt. So I'm gonna do some kind of denim-y bluish colors for his shirt. So I've got PB6, B290 and B260. So again, starting with that kind of darkest color and laying in my shadows first. I'm just going to do this top part first because it's pretty much mostly in shadow. Let's go around his collar quickly. Oh, got the wrong end. Just going to leave a little bit of space to add the lightest color. Oh, I got the wrong end again. And just to blend it out a bit and make it a little bit lighter at the top there. Okay, now let's do the rest. Well, let's do his sleeve next, actually. So we've got this bit peeking out through his waistcoat here. Just going to do kind of dark around there, and then his actual sleeve. Add a little bit of darkness all the way around there. And then his sleeve. You probably get a little bit of wrinkling around the bottom where it's kind of bent up his elbow. So I'll add a couple of little wrinkles in there. And again, you'd probably get a few little wrinkles at the top part there. On this bit, I'm going to colour the bottom edge and around the cuff. Okay, let's add our mid-tone in. So this bit I'm kind of keeping quite dark at the back because it's underneath his waistcoat, so it's not going to get as much light. And then I'm just kind of going to go over what I've done there and extend those lines out a little bit. Ready for my lightest colour. Now this is quite a lot lighter than these other two, so it's going to take some blending to get it looking right. We may have to do some little tricks and techniques to blend these colours out so that they don't look quite so weird against each other. We might have to do a little bit of kind of like tip to tip blending, I think, because it's looking a little bit too different. So hold on a second. Pull out, this is an acrylic block that I use for stamping, and I'm going to take that mid-tone colour, which is the B290, and I'm going to scribble some of that colour on here, and I'm going to pick it up with my lightest marker and use it to help me blend out those two colours so that they don't look quite so different, don't look quite so contrasted. I want a bit of contrast in there, but I don't want them to look like they're completely different, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense at all. Okay, let's do the rest of his kind of shirt here. So I'm going to start again, just doing the same method as I always do, layering in my darkest colour first, and then blending out towards my lightest. Kind of just putting the shadows in where I think they need to go. Again, I'm no expert, I'm just kind of doing what feels right. Extending that out a little bit with the mid-tone. I mean, the mid-tone and the darkest one, there's not a huge amount of difference between the two, so we're not going to stress too much. Then we're going to pull in our lightest. And again, I'm going to work over those kind of transition lines a little bit, and then I'm going to use this tip. It's called a tip to tip method, so you can often just pick the color up straight from the nibs. I don't like to do that. I prefer to scribble it on a block and pick it up from the block and then use it like that. I don't know why, I just find that easier, but yeah, the method of using this color method is called the tip to tip method because a lot of people just do it tip to tip, but it kind of creates that transition color, so it's not quite so obviously lighter than the other one. Does that make sense? I hope that does. Right, because I've blended it out quite a lot now, I'm going to go back in with my darkest marker, and I'm just going to reintroduce those kind of shadows, because I do want that contrast still, and I feel like I've lost a lot of the contrast. So I'm going to add it back in with the darkest marker. I've got to remember that this is like a cartoony image. It's not a real kind of realistic image. So having that kind of contrast, I don't know, just it works for me. Okay, that's his shirt done. Let's move on to his hat and waistcoat, which I think I'm going to do in the same colors. So I'm keeping his clothing relatively dark because we've got to remember he's a little robber, so he doesn't want to stand out. So I'm going to use some dark tealy kind of green colors. I've got BG2, G5 and G9 for this. And just make sure they're all around the right way. I'm going to start with his hat. It's a nice ribbed hat. So I'm going to try and kind of emphasize that rib detail and kind of just add a little, just a hint of this darker color around some of those areas. And I'm kind of going to switch the direction of the shadow at the top here. And then blend out with the lightest, and I do want to try and keep a little bit of space. I know that it's quite a small area, but just keep a little bit of space for that lighter color. So that it really contrasts and you can see the definition of that kind of ribbing detail that RJ Hampson's drawn in here. Such a pretty color. Love that color. Okay, that's his hat. I'm going to do his waistcoat in the same colors. Like I say, he needs to look kind of dark and mysterious, doesn't he? So these are quite dark colors that I'm using. Feel free to brighten it up. Use whatever colors you want. I just figure because he's a bit of a robber, he wants to hide a little bit in the darkness. So dark colors are the order of the day for a robber, apparently. So like I know what I'm talking about, I really don't. But I figure he wants to blend in to the background a little bit. Okay. Again, this is quite a big area that we're covering here, so we might need to just keep going back over those transition areas a few times to get it looking nice and smooth. And then we're going to add our lightest colour in, and this one is quite a lot lighter than those other two. So again, it's going to take a bit of work to blend it out. And if needs be, we can always go back in with another coat of colour to get it looking really smooth. And we might do that, I think, with the waistcoat because it's such a big area. The smaller areas, often you can just get away with one kind of layer of colour, but with the bigger areas, I find it much easier to make those transition lines smoother if you go over it a few times. The wetter the paper, the easier the marker will, what's the word I'm looking for, will blend together. It's easier for the markers to kind of work together to create that kind of transition and smooth out the color. Oh, okay. We've got a little bit left here of his, I think it's just going to be this little bit here because that's kind of like the trim of his waistcoat. So, yeah. I'll probably end up doing it mostly in that BG2 color. I'll bring a little bit of the G5 rather. Just a touch, but I'm going to keep it pretty dark. Okay, so that's his clothing pretty much done. We're going to do the trim on his waistcoat. We're going to do that in these gold colours. So I've got Y8, Y270 and Y230. And we're going to see how this goes, and then we're going to try and use these same colors on his little Aladdin's lamp here as well. So again, I'm just kind of adding a little bit of shadow in where I think it needs to go, but like I say, I'm no expert, so feel free to mix it up. Just a little bit of a goldish colour to finish off his outfit. Okay, let's do this little bit as well. And then we'll do his lamp. And I know it kind of can sometimes seem like there's a lot of chopping and changing between markers and taking lids on and off. Some people will leave the lids off completely. I like to put them back on. I live in a very hot country. We have air conditioning, and the markers can dry out really quickly. They're alcohol, so they evaporate quite quickly. So I do like to keep popping the markers back on, the lids back on and off. So if that annoys you, I do apologize, but there is a method behind the madness. There is a reason for me doing that, and it's because, like I say, I live in a really hot country where we have aircon on. I haven't got it on today, actually, but we normally have aircon on pretty much permanently. So things dry out very, very quickly, and these alcohol markers, like I say, the alcohol evaporates really quickly if you're not careful with them. It's probably not quite so bad in a cooler country, but yeah, over here, they dry out pretty quick. So I need to be a little bit careful with them. Okay, excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. Right, that is Bunny's outfit. Let's do Bunny himself. I'm gonna do him in some, I'm gonna do in some gray colors. I was kind of debating what color to do him, but we're going to go with grays. So we've got RG 150, 120, and 110. Now RJ stands for reddish grey. I think it's reddish grey, which might seem like an odd colour to do your bunny rabbit, but I figure he is kind of, I wanted it to look a different grey to what I've used on his mask here, which is kind of more of a neutral grey or a cooler grey. And I kind of thought that this reddish grey colour was kind of cool. It's got a little bit of warmth to it, which I like for an animal. See, I've thought a lot about this. But yeah, I haven't used them a great deal. I haven't used these colours a great deal. And I thought today was the day. I'd pull them out. It's almost got a bit of a violet kind of undertone to it, these greys. They kind of got an almost slight violet purplish kind of tinge to them, but I think they look kind of cool for an animal, like I say. I haven't quite figured out how I'm gonna do all of them. Like, he's got a patch there. He's got a bit of a patch down this back here. And I'm gonna do his legs. Yeah, I'm going to do his legs in this colour. And I'm going to do his tail in this colour as well. You can see my paper here has warped a little bit because I've used so much ink. And it's gone a little bit warpy, but it will flatten out. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but yeah. Because I've layered so much colour on there, so much ink, it's made the paper a little bit wet, so it's warped the paper a little bit. But that's kind of, like I say, what you want when you're blending alcohol markers, because it's much easier to blend on a wet page than it is to try and blend when the alcohol marker is dry. Okay, I'm gonna do his legs here. Kind of just trying to pull that colour out a little bit. These colours blend quite nicely, these markers. They're 3 shades of the same colour family, and yeah, they blend quite nicely. I don't always use the same colour families in my combinations. I mix it up a little bit, and sometimes some of them are a little bit harder to blend, but these ones work nicely. Okay, let's do his other leg here, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of him. I haven't quite thought, oh, missed his toes. I haven't quite thought that far ahead yet. I initially planned on doing the whole rabbit in these colours, but I feel like I need to add a different colour in somewhere. So, I don't know, I'm going to have to think about that for a sec. Okay, I'm gonna what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Excuse me, I'm going to leave some of him white, I think. Do I want to do that? I'm sorry, I'm debating how I'm gonna colour the rest of him. Let's have a look. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know that I thought this out very well, did I? Okay, I'm going to carry on with these colours. I'm going to do his other ear, this colour. Look at me being all decisive, doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to do his ear in this colour combination. And then I'm going to do his little hands in this colour combination as well. And then I might just kind of leave the other bits of him white. I will add a little bit of shadow to those other bits so that it doesn't look strange, but I'm going to leave them white, I think. But of course, feel free to mix it up, make him look however you want. You could go with darker colors. Okay, so yeah, the rest of them is going to be white. I'm just going to add, rather than bringing out another color, I'm just going to use this RG110 to add just a touch of shadow to these white areas, just so that they don't look quite so stark white. It's always a good idea to add a little bit of colour even to your white areas, because it just stops it from looking flat and adds a little bit of dimension to everything. Doesn't have to be a huge amount of colour, but just a little bit to lift it and stop it looking completely white. Okay, there we go, that's my bunny. I'm going to do his nose and his ears. So his nose, I think I'm actually I'm going to do it with these dark greys again, the CG070 and NG06. I kind of thought about doing it a pink colour, but he's a baddie, isn't he? He's a robber, so I want him to look a little bit mean, so I think a black nose looks slightly better. So that's his nose. I need to do the inside of his ears, and I am going to do them with a kind of pinky colour. Let's see what I can find. Sorry, I haven't got these ones out. I'm not very prepared. Do R110 and maybe YR030. So those are the two kind of pinky colours I'm going to use for his ears. And there's not much to colour, but they're kind of more like a peachy pink rather than a solid pink. I'm going to use that lightest one to add a little bit of a colour to kind of a cheek area there, just to add a little bit of something. And that's pretty much him done. I've forgotten his button. You're probably all screaming at me, do his button, and I didn't see it. So let's bring those goldish colours out again to fill that in. It's a tiny little area, but we'll use all three. And yeah, there he is. Okay, let's add some fun details to him. So I'm gonna add a little bit of something to the his magic genie lamp, and I have my golden sparkle pop pen. Now you can see this one is very nearly at its end. I do have another one, so if it runs out we can grab the other one and add more, but I'm going to add sparkle pop to the kind of intricate details on this little lamp to give it a little bit of shimmer and shine. Can't have a golden lamp that doesn't look shimmery and shiny. Okay, and I'm gonna add, let's add green, a green sparkle pop, just because it was the first one I pulled out, right to the center there to make it look like a precious jewel inlaid in there. Okay, so that's his little lamp done. It's got a little bit of sparkle and shine to it now, which hopefully you can see catching the light there. And then we're just going to add some white gel pen details with my Sakura Jelly Roll in the 08 size. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Sorry, I hope that doesn't annoy you too much, but just because I don't want to smear that gold stuff that I've just put down there. So we're just going to add a touch of some white gel pen details to my page. Just in a few little dots and places. Again, I'm no expert at this. I kind of just chuck colour on where I think it's going to work and hope for the best. I am no expert at this. Of course, you don't have to do this part either. I think it just adds a little touch of fun to the picture. He's so cute. I know he's a baddie, but he's kind of cute. Add a little bit to the lamp as well. I wonder if he's going to get 3 wishes. I wonder if he's going to get a genie. But to this part. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe a little bit on a sack here. So I hope that's in frame. Okay, I feel like I don't want to add too much more. Some to the little tops of his toes, not that you can really see it a great deal. But there we go, I'm going to call it quits at that. Our little robber, I'm going to just kind of carefully really emphasize that little white dot in his eye there. Make it stand out, and then that is it. I did think about putting some glossy accents over the top, but because he's got this mask on, I don't want to do that. I want to keep it like it is. So that is it. That is our final finished piece, page 26 of the Awake full book colour along in R.J. Hampson's gorgeous book. This one was called A Busy Night, and yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, a little bit of sparkle on there. Hope you enjoyed that one, and thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next week for the next page. Thanks everybody, take care.